All happy?
So far, so good.
Yeah, confused. Right. Now look at the various costs in a business. So I'll line this up. Imagine you've got a shop, clothes shop say. You're going to have to pay rent and rates, standard charge on your gas or electric, shop assistants' wages, and if nobody comes in the shop, you're still going to have to pay those. Those are fixed. The variable ones could be the materials you buy, the stock you're buying in. That will vary depending on your actual sales. So with fixed and variable quite different. So if you're manufacturing something, it's the raw materials. So we look at gross margin. That's your sales less your materials. When I had the plastics business, we made plastic pellets for moulders in a specific colour to them. But we also bought in truckloads of black or white polystyrene or natural polystyrene and sold that a few bags at a time. Obviously put a margin on. But our margins, or the margin on the stuff we just bought and sold, were a lot lower than the manufactured stuff. So you get your gross profit at the top, and then all your other costs come off. So we had to look at we had an incentive scheme for the salespeople. So we had to alter it to make it more attractive for them to sell stuff we'd actually made. Because we could have had a great month on sales, but if it sold a lot of low margin material, we could have ended up making a loss that month. So look at the raw materials. That's the key thing. I mean, in the food, how much waste do you have?
Oh. It's much better now, actually. So I would say it's only like 5 to 10% max. Yeah, now. But then we used to be like 50%.
And did you cost that in that you were?
Not really, not the whole thing, not really,
No?
because it's sometimes really hard to kind of manage that cost, integrated that into the whole cost.
Yeah. Looking at the sell-by dates and materials or the food you get in.
Yeah, but sometimes it's really like, because some of the product can be rolled over, but some have to go away, so it's really hard to actually like distinguish between which cost should be made into that day, or that kind. But yeah, now it's better after experience of like, yeah.
Yeah, you don't buy 10 shopping bags full of something because it's a cheap deal.
Yeah, we love that, but no, we just have to throw a lot of them away.
Yeah.
So,
I was with somebody this morning, and they run part of the business is a charity. They've got a food bank there, but it's a bit different. That some of the supermarkets, when stuff's getting near the sell-by date, it goes straight to them. But they had a good deal at Christmas. One of the a biggish wholesaler into the food sector was doing Christmas gifts. So it'd be a little bottle of Baileys and a mug and all sorts of knickknacks and cake. The cake was going out of date.
Oh, so getting rid of it all.
So they gave them 20 odd pallets of these things, stripped out the booze, and sold that separately. But the other food that was coming out of date, they could put into the food bank and it would go. So
yeah, there's a lot of like companies dealing with like almost expired food, or at the end of the day, product, all that. So that's really a good idea, because
I think Pret a Manger, I don't know, there's one in Lancaster.
No, there's none in Lancaster that I know of.
People can, or they go and collect from all the shops.
Yeah.
At 11 o'clock at night, and then it goes into the.
Because actually,
I've
got a friend who wanted to start a business like that, was similar to that kind of business model. And then at that time, I was saying to them that, well, for me personally, I would estimate the amount of food waste for each day and try to control that. But at the end of the day, you can't really control that kind of variable cost that you're not going to foresee. So yeah, really tough one.
Yes, it's like with the rubber compound that we used to sell. You heat it up and it cross-links and makes obviously a rubber, say a rubber car tyre. If it just had the raw rubber on, it wouldn't last. So it has to be heated up and a chemical reaction. But if you left it long enough, it would cure up just with age. So it's the same kind of thing. So we couldn't make tons and tons of rubber compound with the footwear industry in January and February and hope it'd keep till October, November. And we used to export that compound, but we took out some of the ingredients that would make it cure. We sent those separately, and our customer then put his own in. So that was another way of doing it, but it was costly. So looking at the service sector, most of your costs are fixed. You look at it. I mean, my only variable cost is my mileage. I'm selling my time. Perhaps car repairs, things like that, but that's you sort of build that in. So service sector cost, I guess it's somewhat. So I'll say about the shops, wages, national insurance. Obviously, you're paying that out a year. You pay some as an employee, but it's 12.8%, I think, for an employee, 13.2% that the company pays. So that's sort of, if you've got something on your books, the company's paying that. So it can be quite expensive. Insurance. So I have to have insurance, as we know. Professional indemnity insurance, which is me giving duff advice to somebody, which is 3 million, is it 5? I think it's 5 now that public sector has 4. And public liability insurance for 10 million. So if I brought my own laptop and there's a cable across here and somebody tripped up over it, it'd be my fault, could sue me. So I've got to have public liability insurance. But it doesn't. 150 quid, I think that's all it costs. Not all, but it's something I've got to have to do contracts. In fact, my insurance is up 2nd of April. But when I put the proposal forward, I was still on my old insurance certificate. So I've had a reminder that yesterday it's due to expire, so I've got to send the new ones out.
You're all right today.
All right today.
Bit of a side question, where does it actually start? Is that the first time you bill someone, or is there a limit of freelance consulting work that you can do before you need to insure yourself, stuff like that?
You can take a risk.
It's done it before.
But if you're coming into a premises like this,
well, I've done some event consultancy before, and I've just, as a private person, sent a bill afterwards.
Yeah.
Never thought about anything else. But
well, they're perhaps assuming that you've got cover.
Nobody asked. But yeah, it's something that I wasn't doing as a business, but a one-off, and I knew it was a one-off. So
yeah.
Is it something that you should have from the first moment you bill someone, no matter what, even if you're a private person?
Really? Yeah.
I would say
just to cover you.
Just to cover yourself.
There's different ones. Mine's cost a bit more now, because you can be a coach and a mentor and a business advisor at a certain level. I'm part of Chartered Management Institute, so they buy a lot of policies all the same from one broker.
Yeah.
So we 10,000, 20,000 of us, we get it at a price. If you're going to be a non-exec director, you're taking on more responsibility in the company. You have the same responsibility as a non-executive director, that's someone who's not involved in the operations, as a full-time director now. So I've got to pay extra to be a non-exec. So it's just it's like car insurance. You've got to have it. Just hope you never an issue. So you'll pay that for the year. You might be able to pay it monthly. I don't know. direct standing order. Your property insurance, car insurance. For car insurance, if you're doing business trips, you need business insurance on top. They'll charge extra for it. Now, if you happen to have an accident, and I was out with a briefcase on my seat and a suit, and said I was just going to the seaside for the day, I don't think they'd believe me. And then I wouldn't be insured. And I have a few cars, so I said, well, I'm only going to use them occasionally. Each one will be, no, it's for the full year you pay, so it's business insurance for each of them.
Mm.
So I'll have a think next year, but not one off.
I think it depends on your business, doesn't it? Because in many cases, certainly in my situation in the past, I haven't had to pay any extra to have sort of like either, you know, sort of like pleasure or business, and I've always used business insurance, and it's not cost me any extra.
I think they say if you go,
and I've been transporting children in my car as part of my job.
Yeah, if you go into sort of pre-arranged appointments, it's a bit less than if you're a salesman going out.
Taxi driver.
Or a taxi driver.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
you say, well, I'm only doing 10,000 miles a year, whereas if you're a rep, you'd be doing 50,000.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay more.
Mm-hmm.
But loop round. So it's,
Compare the meerkat.
What?
Compare the meerkat.
Exactly. Or direct line that isn't on them. Okay. Then our professional fees. So you may want to do your own accounts and submit them to Inland Revenue and such like. Or you might want to get an accountant to do it. Lots of accountants use online packages now, things like Xero, Xero, or QuickBooks, and it's live, and that they can be in and out of it, and they'll charge a monthly fee for it. I don't know, £80 to £100 perhaps, but they should be able to save you that in what they're claiming from HMRC. If you're doing research and development, which you could be doing, there's research and R&D tax credits. You come across those. They're quite good.
I was talking to my accountant about that.
But it's not only the numbers bit, you need the words to back it up.
What do you mean by words?
If you just put your claim in with a load of numbers,
Yeah.
without an explanation, HMRC might throw it out. So if you can back it up.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get some R&D tax credits, some microbreweries, because I think every time they develop a new beer, we're doing some research.
Yeah.
So we've just got two that we're looking at. So it'll be interesting. So I'll just have to keep going to microbreweries once I've got that. It's tough, but somebody's got to do it.
So, David, where would you find out about the R&D tax credits
On the
scheme?
HMRC website.
HMRC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite
And is that just for private business? What about third sector, sort of like company limited by guarantee and
It should be able to.
shared?
I'm just doing something with a third sector business. So she's doing some things with eating disorders. So there may be something in there that she's developing that it's not just the research bit.
Yeah.
It's the development bit that people forget about.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So it's worth
Thanks.
having a go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Particularly what just sort of the cutting edge of things.
Yes.
It should be good. Things that vary. So you're buying raw materials in a rubber compound. Perhaps 30 or 40% of the selling price would be raw materials. For some others, it might be 70%. It varies by sector, by the mix of what you do. If you're a retailer, you're going to be buying stock. So you're only going to be buying stock to replenish what you've sold. Or if you're doing something seasonal, obviously that's why they have sales, to get rid of all the old stock. You're bearing the cost if you're manufacturing something. The more you manufacture, the more electricity you're going to use, or gas. Do you notice that in your? So do you shop round for your suppliers?
Depends on the scale.
Sorry?
Depends on the scales of production.
And obviously your telephone will vary. If you never hire anything in, any equipment in, perhaps in the building trade, you wouldn't have all the heavy kit there.
No.
But you might hire cherry pickers into
Contractors.
Yeah. So that'll be something like that. If you're paying overtime, or if you're doing a productivity scheme for your workers, that'll vary. Obviously, travel costs. What about the other businesses in there? How do you think you fit in with all those?
We're talking about the startup I'm working for.
Yeah.
So I'm actually a freelance contractor, freelance consultant for them at the moment. So
Right.
I'm not like an official employee, but I would say yes, the firm is SEIS eligible, and they're mainly operating online. So it's they're providing the software inside the website, and they also have some revenues from affiliate marketing.
Right.
And I would say that a lot of these, I can see how they relate to the business model.
Are you an employee, or
No, I'm just a freelance consultant, but
have you another? Have you any other contracts with anybody?
not at the moment, no. I'm operating as a sole trader in other aspects, but I'm not.
You've got to be careful. There's something called IR35, isn't there?
Oh yeah, what's that about?
It came about 10 years ago. I don't know. The IT sector and the contracting building sector, because you're paying your 13.8% as an employer, thought, well, if these people were self-employed, we wouldn't have to pay that 13.8%. So they made everybody be self-employed. Like you've heard on the BBC, we've had all this problem where people have set up service companies, but they're only working with the BBC, so they're saying now, you're actually an employee. And this IR35, if you go on the HMRC website, it gives you the tests. So have you somebody else who could step in if you were ill and do the job?
I have a freelance contract with them, so I'm not an employee of the company in any way, and I'm paying my taxes separately from the company. So
Yeah.
I'm just doing a job for them, get paid. That's how it works.
Yeah. But just have a look at this IR35 on
Alright,
the
sure.
government website
Okay.
to make sure you satisfy all the tests.
Mhm.
So I think that's fine. Are you providing your own equipment,
I'm just
or are you using theirs?
I'm at the moment I'm just providing content for their website, so
Right.
I'm doing just my laptop with it.
Yes, that's all right. So it's your own laptop,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
not theirs. If you're ill, could somebody step in and take over from you?
Absolutely. I'm paid at the moment per job done, so if I don't provide whatever is expected from me, I just don't get paid anything. If I do the job, I get paid.
So
for
you
it.
perhaps need another contract with somebody else, and then you're not classed as just doing work for them.
So would employment with someone else help with that?
It's all a bit of a minefield at the moment.
Yeah.
But it has to be like, it doesn't look like an employee, and you need to have, let's say, different pools of income coming in, rather than just one one-off.
It could be if you're doing a long-term contract, that to be acceptable, and then if you're going off and doing something else.
But if it's a constant thing, which is one stream of income, then
Yeah.
there is a
yeah.
problem with IR
Yeah.
35, because I was at the same kind of issue sat with.
Yeah, me too. I was in that situation.
So I have quite a few clients through Perrats from my own company, but for the Boost program, because it couldn't be subcontracted, it's a European one, I've got to be an employee of Boost. If I do a day a week, yeah, that's all right. So I don't pay national insurance, I'm too old, but they've got to pay
Employees'
national insurance.
costs.
Yeah, it's a cost for them, and pension and all the trimmings. But I've other things. But other projects I've worked on, they've been a 6-month one where I've been full time, billing it through my company. But then I've gone on to another contract after.
So you don't classify in the IR 35 then, in that case?
Just have a look at it.
Yeah.
And see. Last thing you want is an investigation. Yeah, we'll cover all that, I think. You're all happy with? Now, working capital, that's the cash in. So, what assets have you got? So, stock, money in the bank, liabilities, and debtors, of course, your customers owe you.
So, David, would you class property as an asset or a liability? If it was on a mortgage, or if you were...
The mortgage bit would be a liability because it's something you owe.
Yeah.
But the value of the building could be an asset.
Would you split the property into two? Then you'd have it as an asset and a liability. So like the mortgage, what's left to pay on the mortgage would be a liability.
Yes.
But what's left on the value once you've deducted that would be your asset.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's how it would work.
Hmm.
It's a difficult one. And I don't want to cover. There's something called depreciation. So any equipment or whatever you've got, HMRC Inland Revenue allow you to write off the value of that over its life. So a computer's got, say, 12-month shelf life, and then it's out of date. So you can take all the value of that and knock it off your profits, and you tax on what your profits are. If it's a car or a van, it might have a 4-year shelf life. So you can take 25% of that off your profits again. And in non-accountant speak, HMRC allowing you to save up over life to replace it when it's worn out. Accountants have a more complicated one, but I'm only simple. So
That's good then.
So that's how I understand it.
Okay.
So your assets are your cash in the bank, what your customers owe you, any stock you've got. Your creditors are what you owe your suppliers, and if you've got an overdraft, say the bank can call on it, or a loan, something like that. So, short-term money, you're buying stock there. Your customers owe you, but if you're factoring or invoice financing it, that's going to speed up the money coming in. If the customer didn't pay, the invoice finance company or the factory can claw that money back. They're only sort of lending it until they've not paid. Your suppliers, of course, you owe money to them. Long term, again, your property, I think it used to be 20 years you could devalue it, but property doesn't go down in value. It's a funny one. So what you do, you get your property revalued, cost you money to get it. You know, if you had a factory, it costs you money to get it done. But then you start again to be at a higher level, and then depreciate. I think it's used to be 3%. If you've got some long-term loans, if you bought some equipment, it might be to repay it over 5 years, something like that. So it's a liability you're going to have to pay over the period. So, fixture and fittings, if you're looking at opening a shop, are you?
Not really. It's just gonna be
A pop-up shop.
Yeah, pop-up shop.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll have some fixture, you'll have some tables and ovens and yeah. So those are some of the assets in your business. Any furniture. You have a van to take it round in, or is that a company van or a private car? I won't tell anyone.
It should be company, but I said it's a private one. You can use it as a
And what's it insured as?
The what, sorry?
What's it insured as, a private car?
Oh yeah, but at the moment it's just rented, so it's not really.
Oh, you're just renting the car on
Yeah, because the insurance is too high for the van, like really high. Yeah, so at the moment we've got private driver. Yeah, but yeah.
It does drop as you get older.
Yeah, but it's because.
But then when you get really old, it goes up again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old is really old?
When you can't see anymore.
Oh, cool. But yeah, because like there's no claim, like I can't claim any no claim benefit, or like since like I haven't really been driving in the UK for that long and stuff like that. So the insurance.
It's hard when you're young to get. Your insurance policy probably costs more than the car.
Yes, it is. It's so
and then it's finding ways of you put your parents on as named drivers, and I think that brings it down. You don't want them as the main driver and you the secondary one, because you're not building up your own no claims then. But if you put them on as a name one, from what I understand, it'll bring your premium down. So liability, you might have put some money in to start your business, so you want that back sometime. So it's a liability, you could be drawing the money out. You perhaps see in company accounts that there's a director's loan account.
Yes.
So the owner might not want to draw all his dividends, because it might affect his tax position. He might not need the money, so he'll leave them in and draw them when he needs them. Perhaps when you sell the business, take them all out then. So it's a taxman playing about with your business. Short-term loans. It might be a loan, a 12-month one. So that's going to be repaid fairly quick. So a profit and loss account that deals with revenue items. It's going to show you how much profit you're going to make. Profit's what you're taxed on. So as a big company, the public limited company, you're always trying to get your profits up to keep your shareholders happy. When you're a private company, you want to keep them down so you're paying less tax. It's a sad state of affairs, isn't it?
All cash. Don't want any about card transaction.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah, but they wonder why you're running around in a Bentley.
Finger crossed.
With the food in the bag.
Yeah.
And you've got a little market store.
Yeah.
But what they do, they'll compare your business. When you send your accounts in, they compare your business with others very similar. So they say it was a chip shop, or a burger shop, or whatever. They'd look at everybody's accounts, and if somebody was way below the average, we'll go and investigate them. And if somebody's very high, we'll think, well, that's a bit odd. And it flags it up automatically. So you can't get a tax investigation, and they can go back 6 years.
Wow.
But you can get insurance, of course. on that. Your accountant will probably try and sell it to you. Federation of Small Business and the Chambers, it's part of their membership fee. So I think FSB is around £140 to be a member. Well, you might pay £180 for your insurance, so you might as well be a member of FSB and get a few other benefits, and you're getting that. And if you've got an investigation, all you would say is, the FSB are dealing with it, ring them up, get all your papers together and give it to them. And their people are all ex-tax inspectors. And they do all the negotiation with your accountant. But if you have to go out 6 years to your accountant, think of all the time he's going to spend £250 an hour perhaps to go back through all your accounts. Then have meetings with Inland Revenue. And they might not find anything, but you've still got his bill to pay. But these insurance schemes are quite good. They'll look at a sector, say if somebody's flagged up. If they investigated that company, they'd look at their suppliers. As a matter of course, that's another something going on there. Are they selling to you in cash? They're not declaring it. Oh, of course not. They wouldn't be. Another one, the HMRC computer picks out companies at random for investigation. But it can be quite time consuming and costly.
Expensive.
So when you start up, it doesn't have to be complicated, just keep a note of all your costs and any sales made. Sage is the sort of standard accounts package that's been around for donkey's years. Unfortunately, it's written for accountants. It's not as easy to understand. Xero and QuickBooks are great. They're written for proper businesses. A lot of stuff comes out graphically, so you can see what's going on, and it's live. Sage have just brought one out that's in the cloud, but it's taken a long time because we're losing so much business. HMRC runs some free workshops. Always worth going along to see what they've got. Don't forget your VAT. As I mentioned there, that you're going to have to pay that every quarter, so you factor that into your cash flow.
You said to include it after you sell over 85,000, right? So,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But anything you buy that your suppliers have charged you VAT, you can't claim it back unless you're VAT registered.
Okay.
And there's a couple of schemes. Normally you pay every quarter, but for some industries they have what they call a flat rate scheme, where you pay so much a month, then divvy up at the end. It might help your cash flow. Yeah. Don't forget to claim all for your business expenses. I have a hot desk over in Accrington in Boost, which it's 30 miles, so I don't always go in. Perhaps once a week for an hour or two, but I work from home, so I have a home office. I charge my business 80% of my BT phone bill. I say that's business phone. I could put 100% in, but it didn't look odd. I put all my mobile costs in. Business mileage, so you can't charge your business for home to your office or home to your factory. But so I used to run a group of 8 companies, so I had to pass one on the way home from another one, or I might go and see a customer on the way home. So I had very little private mileage. I only managed to see somebody.
There is a scheme whereby if you work from home, you can claim, I think it's about a quarter of all your domestic bills, isn't there?
Yes, it's
your electricity, your...
There's a simple one, which obviously I do.
You do it online.
Which is £10 a week.
Yeah.
To cover my office costs.
Yeah.
But you can take all your heat and light and rates and all the trimmings.
There's a formula, isn't there?
And you count up the number of rooms in your house. You don't count the bathroom. If you've 2 toilets, you only count 1. And then say it was 1 out of 5. You'd add all your bills up and take 20% of those would be your business
expenses, and then they give you a percentage of that.
£10 a week's easy.
David, I've got a question here from Yvonne. So she's wondering if you've got any advice on the best business account or bank for startups.
Santander are quite good.
Business bank.
Business bank, yeah. You'll pay for the business account, but a lot of banks will give you 18 months free.
Okay.
It's 12 months now.
12, is it? Yeah.
So what about, Yvonne has a KIC, Community Interest Company. What about the community, Co-op Community Bank?
Co-op aren't bad.
Yeah, do you think that might be a...
I know Co-op have had the problems in the banking sector, but yes, some are
community bank, isn't it? The community bank, because they don't charge any charges for charities
right.
or
they just invest in ethical businesses, don't they?
Yeah.
But if you get your 12 months with one bank, come to the end of it, go to another bank. See if they give you 12 months. And, well, tell the bank you're with, so I'm going to have to go because you might give you an extra.
It's a tricky one though, because if you don't have a personal bank account with them, it's most likely not gonna grant you the business bank account. Like,
Unless it's in your business plan.
Yeah, and that too, and unless you actually got a personal bank account with them, so a lot of business got rejected.
Yeah. Well, I've been with TSB since I was this big, but I didn't go to TSB for a business account. I went to Santander because it was at that time it was free banking for life. And then they brought a charge in now, but it's not much.
Yeah.
So I still kept my TSB account for a personal thing. But then I opened a Santander account, one of these 1, 2, 3 ones that pays you interest.
Oh really? Because 3 of my friends actually got rejected to get a Santander.
What you're supposed to have so many direct debits. Well, all I do is transfer money out of my TSB account into my Santander account, and a direct debit from that back into my other bank. So
because I want to change my bank as well, which is with Hands Up again.
Yeah.
So I want to change it to.
Some of the banks don't. Some of the banks don't like you dealing in cash.
Okay,
they're not geared up for handling cash.
That's why I kind of like that.
I think HSBC are quite good. Certainly in Preston, there is a big business banking unit on one of the industrial estates in Fulwood. It's geared up for you for taxi drivers to go and handle a bag of cash.
Yvonne was just commenting that she'd been to the Santander Bank in Lancaster here, but they were perplexed about how to start the account because she's not British, she's American. So, do you have any advice there at all?
I don't really.
She should be able to open an account here.
I thought so.
Yeah, I opened an account just like yesterday with Santander.
Yeah.
She might have to go to a bigger town.
She could try the uni. Did you open it here at the uni?
I got an appointment from the university.
Okay.
And then they gave me the account, and then I actually started off from the university.
Okay, I'll tell her to try the uni.
I just went for the meeting to get the account open, and I opened the basic one, so.
Yeah, is that just for you? Is that for a personal account or is it a business account?
That's a personal account.
Okay, so maybe start with a personal account.
Yeah, a basic one, it doesn't have any cost involved to it. You can put like £50 in it, or like 10, 15, and then go to the business one.
Yeah. Yeah, show me you're a good risk.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses start getting finance and they do it on a credit card. It's the only way they can, they might have a poor credit history themselves, so they can get a credit card up to a limit, or several credit cards. But it's an expensive way of starting a business, but loads of businesses have done it if they can't get finance anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so, some biggish names, some of these entrepreneurs you see on television.
Yeah.
But cash is a problem. I say that they're
Some
not.
would use it also to manage the cash flow, right?
Sorry?
To help with the cash flow, some people would use the credit card to help to make the cash flow
Yeah.
more.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
but it's an expensive.
yeah.
Or you look round and see who's got the best deal on credit cards. It's a difficult one.
Should we have a credit card though? Like,
Well,
Right.
if you're buying stock, do your suppliers take credit cards?
they have some shared credit card, they do.
Yeah.
But that's it.
So that'll give
Yeah.
you could still settle your account at the end of the month.
Yeah, but normally it's
So
30%.
you could get 60 days, I suppose, couldn't you? Near enough. If you
Yeah.
timed your purchases right on your credit card, you could have a good period before you paid it, and then pay it off in full, and it's not costing you anything.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about getting the credit card. So, yeah.
But if you want to keep dealing in cash, you don't want to things.
I was going to ask about that. Have you considered
We're not
the
re-
costs
not recording
of
that, are
taking
we?
card compared to the expected extra revenue?
Yeah, I have actually because the cost of each transaction
Yeah.
made by the card or like any transaction
Yeah.
is quite high.
Isn't it? It's 20p and a couple of percent, less than 3%, isn't it, per
No,
transaction?
it's per transaction is base cost plus 2.6% actually.
And is that such a big chunk of your margin?
Yeah,
Really? Okay.
quite a bit because like it depends on what kind of product we're talking
Right.
about here. If it's just a street food, then it's quite big
Really?
chunk.
Okay.
Because 2.6%.
Because we take card at events for £5 entry. But
How
it
much
just,
do you charge? Like which
well,
bank
it's
charge?
similar, the standard
Yeah.
processing fees. But it's just so many people have card with no cash
Yeah.
that it makes sense for us.
Yeah, no, it's just very few people carry cash
Yeah.
around, do they?
No, but then like because it's a tricky one for the street food market, again because like they can literally go get cash. You know, it's not like the same with the night, or it's not the same. They expect to pay cash anyways
Right.
Yeah.
a lot of the time,
Yeah.
apart from like the festivals and all that.
Yeah,
They do.
yeah.
It's very rare
Yeah.
you find a customer, because she's based on the university, where
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're not aware that it's cash. They have a problem with
Yeah.
it being cash, or
Yeah.
that they're not willing to run to the cash machine.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Like there is if it
Festivals,
was
yeah.
in different places, there is definitely an opportunity to do that.
Or the festival, they don't carry like cash, so that's why I can't.
Can you
afford
pay
it.
by your phone?
Yeah, I mean, if you take card,
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
Your phone is NFC capable,
Yeah.
Apple
Yeah.
Wallet. So.
Which one do you use though?
Just
Like,
WellPay, just
okay, yeah.
with a SIM card.
Yeah, it's quite quick that one. I
Yeah.
used to use the Barclay one, just a simple one. It's so slow.
It is still
Don't
slow.
go.
It is still
Well,
slow.
okay.
And what does that cost?
Well, it's a basic the basic transaction fee of a couple percent,
Yeah.
plus the 20p charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've changed recently, so I'm not sure about the number because you can use Square, you can use WorldPay, the
Yeah.
standard ones. But
Okay,
Yeah.
And then was things like Eventbrite.
yeah,
Right.
that's really expensive
Yes.
for cheap tickets because
Yeah.
they charge like £1, like starting
They raised now,
starting
right?
commission. Sorry,
They already raised the price.
did they again?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we.
Yeah.
They do again.
And
It's
sometimes,
incredibly expensive. So
sometimes on Eventbrite, you see a
Yeah.
funny amount.
I've worked at a festival during my placement. The tickets are between £1,000 and £1,500, and Eventbrite gets about 60-80 quid per ticket commission, or euros in that case, but really high amount, and that's a special deal rate. So they make a big
Some of
chunk.
Yeah.
the networking events that are run,
Mm.
it goes out on Eventbrite, and say it's 10 quid to go. The Eventbrite price is something like £11.68.
Yeah, you can
So
charge it
some
onto the
strange
customer.
amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could charge for the convenience, both on the user side, they get it on their phone, and the organizers, they get their whole accounting is just so much easier than if you do it, if you sell tickets yourself, because there's so much extra services in the Eventbrite suite that you get
Well,
on top of
you've
it.
got the money whether they turn up or not.
Exactly, that too, churn, yeah.
So it's but there's other ways.
Eventbrite, sorry to
Yeah,
ask
go on.
you, Eventbrite then puts it in your account?
After a period.
Yeah, so again, if you're a large organizer, you'll have specific terms. If you're a smaller organizer, the worst case I've had is we've organized the festival, 2012, and between when we started selling and when the event happened, it was 3 months. So we had, and that was like 4,500 tickets sold. And we didn't get the money until after the event because Eventbrite keeps it until the event has happened, until if the event is cancelled or anything. So that's where it gets tricky.
I got it 15 days afterwards.
Yeah, but
Yeah, quite quick
for
though.
but our event wasn't until 4 months.
Oh,
in
okay,
advance.
but mine was
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
only put it up
You
a
need
month
the
before.
kind of the cash
Yeah.
shortage that you were talking
Exactly,
about.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can get into that. Pretty bad with that. Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, that's
It's,
a tricky
some
But,
providers
but if
will
it's,
get you
if it's a
immediate.
free event Eventbrite don't charge.
That's true. Yeah.
But you've got to be careful. You can't sort of hint that you'll take payment on the day.
Right. Yeah.
You've got to make it out that it is free.
And
Otherwise
then
they'll want
another-
to-
another
they'll want
free
a
events
cut.
in Eventbrite, so, yeah.
And how much do they charge in between?
So it's changed again recently, I
Yeah.
think, but it starts somewhere around £1 plus a percentage.
Mm.
So if you're selling a £5 ticket, that's £1 straight away. You get 20% of your revenue. But it increases, and if you're going really high, so the festival I was working with, they sold between 800 to 1,500. So they'll have a dedicated person. They'll negotiate a deal, and based on volume, they'll get special rates and all that. There's so many companies out there now, so it really depends on who you use. Fees really vary.
Yeah, there's always this problem of
And you can pay throughout the world. So anyone who's coming from France or wherever,
It's online ticketing.
it's online. So that's a good advantage for a company.
Skill is much bigger now.
Skiddle Ticketmaster then.
yeah, they've
Yeah.
got all,
That's
got all the
always a
problems of
local
they
one.
selling tickets that nobody else can get. They don't go on general
Local
release. do they?
company,
No.
a company from Manchester just raised like £20 million. They're a Skyscanner for ticketing, so that just shows how many ticket platforms there are. They don't sell tickets; they show you where you can get tickets for an event, and they're like a search engine for ticket platforms
Yeah,
called Tickex.
concepts.
Do they then get a percentage of?
They'll get a commission, same to Skyscanner, same
Yeah.
model, yeah. So they'll save customers money and get a redirection fee, so to say.
It's all automated, and you can sit in the sun. It all happens and it drops into your account. Very nice.
Young fella started it as well, my age.
Yeah, well, good for him.
Okay. Key things to do when you're starting. Do this every month. Bank reconciliation. As I said, that problem I had with Lancashire County Council. Check what's coming in is in. Check that something's not bounced. Go in every day. Got it all online. Somebody could have paid you, or you think they put a check in. It hasn't cleared, but you think it has. So always watch. Always do your bank reconciliation. Chase your customers for the money. I might lose him if I chase him. Well, if he's not going to pay you, what good is it?
Yeah.
So we talk about these payment terms on all your invoices. So that there's something called the Battle of the Forms. So you put a quote out to somebody with your terms and conditions in 30 days. They'll send you an order with their payment terms on, which might be, like Boots, 120 days. If you then deliver that order, you've accepted their terms. That's the last piece of paper. So then you send no acknowledgement back to them with your terms on. Now, if they don't cancel it, they've accepted your terms. So it's always the last piece of paper that it goes on. So you put it on the back of your invoices, you put it on the back of your, if you have a delivery note, it's always there. You're going to do your business plan, you're going to do a cash flow forecast. Compare what's actually happening each month. Your forecast says it might have gone a lot better, it might be worse. So you might have to redo your cash flow forecast. When I was in corporate life, PLC, our year was end of March. We started doing budgets in September, October for the whole group, and then they'd have to be reviewed, and I reviewed all the 8 companies we did, and then we had to get to sort of January before we were thereabouts. Then there might be queries, go back, you have to redo it. February. We'd made assumptions in September, October, or the company made assumptions September, October, of what the sales are going to be and all of the costs. A lot can happen over that period. Now, I used to sell plastic to Iran. It was wood-filled plastic, and they made pencils out of it, or they said they made pencils. I made it on behalf of an American company who couldn't deal with Iran. And it was something on a letter of credit. So that's a piece of paper that just moves about between you raise the invoice, the customer pays the money to a bank. When it's delivered, then they release the money to your bank. Iran, it was a 365-day letter of credit. So I'd be giving them 365 days credit for the order. But we then sold that letter of credit for a price to somebody and got the money in within 30, 60 days. But we never knew when Iran had got money, we never knew when they were going to place an order. And it's not £500,000 a time. So you're thinking in September, October, shall I put it in my budget for next year, next March? So if you leave it out, and it comes in the following year, you're budgeting 18 months ahead. So if you left it out, it came in as an order, not paid, everybody's bonuses would be great because you'd beat your budget. Now if you put it in, thinking, it's due to come any time, and it didn't, you'd fail your budget, you'd miss your budget, and then you get a rollicking. So it was always a difficult one. When I had my own businesses, I did a cash flow forecast and a profit and loss account. I did an annual one, but then I did a rolling 12-month one. So I'd get in 3 months into the year. I'd have a good idea very good idea what was going to happen in the next 3 months, and a bit less for the 3 months after, and a bit less for the final. It'd be a 12-month rolling budget. So it was very much more a live document rather than trying to budget 18 months ahead. So, you can change your plan. It's very much in a fast-moving business like yours will be, like most of yours will be. And then if you go into the bank, then, well, here's my revised one. So again, compare your cash flow. If you're going to, we'll have a little exercise of cash flow, that you might need an overdraft facility sometime further down, 3 or 6 months ahead because of something. Got to buy a load of materials, got to buy some equipment. So that might move out or back. So if you've got a dynamic cash flow forecast and profit and loss, so much the better rather than it being a historical one. A lot of people write business plans, put them in the drawer and never get them out. Oh, I've got a business full of dust. But yeah, it's only 2 years out of date. Yeah, well.
We use the business model canvas.
Yeah, I was looking at it. Seems quite good.
Yeah. So, we use the sticky notes on that so that it can be changed as it fluctuates and changes. So.
What I do on the Boost program, we do a single page business plan. We do an orbit first. We come across those where you're middle of the centre of the concentric circles. That's where you are.
Yeah.
You jump
desirable, feasible, and viable.
Yeah, you jump out 3 years. You don't want year by year. You make the big leap for 3 years. So I want my sales to be such. So what do I need to get those sales? Well, I need to get X number of new customers. That's online. How many am I going to get? Year 1, year 2, year 3. How many markets are you going to get? So we work all that out. And then we do a single page plan. So we pick 3 or 4 key areas that are going to make the big leap of the business. And then we'll look and see how many smaller projects are needed to do that. So is it a new website? Is it a marketing plan? Is it premises? Is it equipment? What do we need to do? And who's going to be responsible for it? And are these going to be key to each of those 3? Or are they going to contribute or not at all? So we end up with a small matrix, few stars that are the key ones, few circles that are contributing, and then when I meet the businesses every month, we review where we're up to. So are we on target on these? What's the problem? Oh, we set targets, we set a time scale. So if you're on target, we don't bother doing that. We'll go to the next one that might be lagging behind, and then we can add some others on. So it's you can stick it up on the wall. You know, you're not going to stick it in the drawer. We're doing what are we doing? A1, A2, and everybody can see it. So it's quite a simple one. It's adequate for a lot of businesses, but it's not adequate for a bank. So are you all happy with that?
Yep.
Any questions?
Any questions here?
Friend online, is she?
Any questions?
Nope.
So,
We're
quiet
okay.
at the moment, yeah.
Right, we'll look at some costing. So, if you're manufacturing something, say, whatever, it's your cost of your materials, how much profit you want to make in the year, to the nearest million. And divide it by the number of units you're hoping to make, and that'll give you a selling price. So, what would it be a building, do you think?
Over 2,000.
Housing. Oh, how many bedrooms do you want?
Sufficient.
Sufficient. Okay then. I'm going to go with a luxury house, and I'm going to say total cost of materials. See how, is that including labour as well?
That's the one.
Um, Yes.
I'm going to say
Materials and labour.
I'm going to say 200.
Because a big part of it is labour.
Yeah, I'm going to say 5 bedroom, 270k, and I'm going to sell it at 450, so I'm looking at 180k. Divided by, just make it easy, divided by 18, because that's how many houses I'm building.
Right.
Calculator.
And I bet it's total cost, it's not, I've done it per unit, haven't I? So if I was doing it per unit, profit would be 180k. If I was making 10, 1.8 million.
Yeah. So it's a bit easier to cost when you're making something. If we go into a service one, we've got an exercise there. So, talk about raw material costs. Don't forget your waste. Big thing in your... In the rubber company that we were selling sheets of it, they cut out a shape of a foot, and that went into the mould to make the slippers. And we also did the bit on the bottom, the wearing surface. The other one was sponge. So we bought back the waste because the uncured rubber we could mix with new stuff. So we gave them a little bit of that, and then we mixed it, so it brought the cost down. With the skeletons or the offcuts of the wearing surface, we bought those back at very little, just covered the transport cost of them. But then we ground it up into powder and mixed it with new compound. So we were into recycling a long time ago. So imagine your overheads in your business 10 grand. You'll make 10 grand in the year, and you're going to sell 5,000. So that goes up there. So it's a bit £4.80 a unit.
This is for a manufacturing one. You have a service one as well.
Next one. That's a bit
And
more.
the overhead includes the employees and all these other benefits that you have.
Yeah.
And what about electricity and stuff?
Yeah, that's a cost.
That's the overhead ones?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's just the raw materials.
Raw materials.
That goes in the 4,000.
Yeah, and so build something in for waste.
Okay.
And then all your other bits, heat, light, rent, rates, what have you. Now, when you're costing a service, that's a bit more difficult. You might have a few materials in there. If you were doing a handbook or any literature, things like that. So you think, how many actual hours am I going to be paid for? So if you're doing some marketing yourself, you're not really going to get paid for that. That's in your own time. Your travel time, your customer's not going to, or they may pay you for mileage or whatever if you build that into the price. You're not going to get paid for 40 hours a week. There's all this dead time that's got to be absorbed. So again, look at your overheads. What profit you want to make at the end of the year, and how many hours you're going to work in the year. So you're not going to do 40 hours a week for 52 weeks. You've got to have some holidays. You're probably not working Saturday and Sunday, or you might be working on the business, or in the business, I should say. So you've got to cost all these things in.
Can I write that down, please? Sorry.
Yeah, so
the hourly fee.
For this is all like for him, he would include like basically he would make an assumption like he's using his own power,
yeah.
He's using his laptop, he's renting the laptop, right?
Yeah.
And okay.
All those things there are what you need to run your business.
What do you mean by annual productive hours?
Well, you're not going to work 365 days a year, certainly.
Okay.
You might work 5 days, but you're not going to be working for 52 weeks. How many? 48 weeks you'll be on full time, won't you, by the time you take Christmas, summer holiday out.
Okay.
Then you take the other bank holidays that you're not going to be able to work with your customer, they'll be away.
So what's the average of these hours?
Well, you might be spending lots of time preparing for meetings or doing something, whereas you're not actually with the customer.
So when you talk about productive hours, you're talking about
Chargeable hours.
the chargeable hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say that could accumulate to how much would that be? We're talking about.
I've got some numbers on the next one. If you're talking to an accountant, solicitor, they charge you 1/10 of an hour. So if you ring up for 2 minutes, they charge you 1/10 of an hour at £200 an hour. So I haven't time to chat to you. This is what I want to know. Is a meter running? Give me the answer. Thanks very much. But if they start going off at a tangent, so drop me an email quickly. Because I know what they charge. So, forget your overheads, 10 grand. Say you were taking £200 a week, that's for ease. You might get 30 hours, 30 billable hours, but only for 47, might be less. 47 weeks. But then you want to put £2,000 back into your business each year.
I didn't get that. Can you start over again?
Right. Your costs, your overheads, say 10 grand a year.
Okay.
Rent rate or insurance or with bits and bobs.
Okay.
You want to take £200 a week out.
Okay.
And you're going to
as a
work
wage.
30 hours a week.
Okay.
For 47 weeks a year.
Okay. So that's 30 hours in a week.
Yes.
Instead of 48 hours, the regular 48 hours.
Yeah, just saying that. Economic. You might work a lot of hours one week and not so much the next.
Yeah. Well, that's an average.
Yeah, I've just picked some numbers too.
Okay.
And then you're going to put 2,000 quid back into your business for future. Investing it back into your business. So, you're going to want to draw £200 a week for 52 weeks a year, not for 47. £2,000 back into your business. And then your 30 times 47 weeks. So to give you a figure, 50 an hour, say. But if you look at plumbers and joiners, and they're all a similar rate, unless you start charging VAT, which makes them too expensive.
So if, just to turn it around, if we charge this much as a consulting going rate, or let's say a workshop for 8 hours, and we're charging from this, let's say 100 quid almost for one workshop, by the end of it we would have a kind of
you could work it back.
a revenue of 10,400.
Yeah.
Sorry, a desired profit of 10,400.
No, 10,400 is your wages coming out.
Wages coming
You're
out.
taking 200 quid a week out,
Okay.
on average.
But then how does this?
If you run a workshop,
Yeah. Yeah.
you wouldn't take all that money out as wages, would you?
Yeah.
Because of the other weeks when you weren't working. So you'd want some money then, wouldn't you?
But then we'll have to increase the rate so that you adjust to the kind of ultimate profit or the desired profit that you want to have.
Yeah.
So the desired profit would be 12,400 in this case. No.
Well, the profit's not. It's something you just got to put back into the business. It's not cash. You're just going to sort of reinvest it, and then come out with a figure like that. But you might find that you're a lot more expensive than your competitors, or a lot cheaper. So the market levels it out.
And then you have to go and search for people what the going rate is and charge accordingly.
Or if you're bidding for some work for a tender, they'll tell you what they're going to pay you, and then you decide. I was doing something in Cheshire and Warrington. Got offered some work down in Chester, but by the time I'd spent an hour and a bit travelling each way, plus a petrol, it wasn't worth me doing it, so I turned it down. But I work in a consortium of other consultants. There was somebody who lived a bit nearer. One of the guys lived in Blackpool. Well, he certainly wasn't going to go down to Chester. Yeah.
Does that also relate to the self-employed, like these examples?
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I mentioned, for self-employed, drawings are wages.
Okay.
It's just that the self-employed refer to them as drawings.
Sure.
So you happy with that? Okay. Now this break-even is always a good one. Look at it. You've got all your costs, all your expenses, your fixed and variable. How many hours do I have to work, or how many units do I have to make to cover those costs? So, have I got them all covered by Tuesday afternoon? The rest of the week is profit. Or have I got to Friday afternoon at 4:30 and I still haven't covered my costs? So break-even is quite important. So that's when you start playing about your prices and your hours worked. Don't include your VAT in, because that's a cash thing. It's not in you're the unpaid tax collector at the end of the day. That's what VAT is. It actually belongs to HMRC. It's not yours. So. Okay. shall I leave it up?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So, look at your fixed costs. Well, you can do it either. Start with gross profit. So your sales invoiced, less your variable costs. So if you're making something, it's your materials, less your selling price, less your materials. That works out as a percentage. Now you look at your fixed costs. That's your shop with nobody coming in, and you've got those costs which you've got to cover somehow. Divide that by the percentage, and that gives you a break-even figure. And you should know that. So, what day have I covered my costs by? Well, I might have Friday off. I covered them on Tuesday afternoon. Or what have I got to do to extra? Twice. Yeah, so there's an example. So, why you would want to increase your break-even, I don't know. But if you reduce your fixed costs, you're going to bring your break-even figure down. Same with your variable costs. You're going to decrease those. Put your price up, or sell more. And that's going to bring your cost down. Yeah, you bring your break even down. Looking puzzling.
No, it's a good kind of way you put it together. If you want to, let's say, get to the break even quicker, probably. Yeah.
So how many tickets do you have to sell?
It largely depends on the event. For a small event, it's really not much compared to the capacity of the club. For a large event, compared to the investment, it goes up. So it really depends. I've done events with expenses between 1,000 and 250,000. So it really depends.
Yeah. What about with your food?
It's a different one for the sources now, because like for instance, you want to kind of trying to keep the variable cost down, the break even off.
It's a fixed cost.
Yeah, it's a fixed cost.
Yeah. So you're paying for a pitch, aren't you?
Yeah. That too, and all the materials like the glass and the bottles and all that too.
They're more variable, aren't they?
Yeah,
Your materials are going to vary.
Well, I would say some would be variable, some would be fixed, like the materials of the packaging would be fixed. Right?
But they're going to go in each meal you sell, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's per unit, isn't it?
Per unit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But that fixed cost would include just start things like that, wouldn't it?
It'd include your
assets and all that.
your rent for the pitch.
The car.
Car. If it was your car, and
that's added a lot of time.
The insurance cost of that.
Yeah. Insurance is.
So that's fixed whether you use your car or not.
Yeah, that's always that.
So look, coming back to the shop.
Yeah, that's fixed. Whether or not I'm making any profit.
Yeah, if nobody bought off you and you set a pitch up in Lancaster.
You have to pay, so that's fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the variable bits, you wouldn't just make the food if there was nobody there. Nobody buying off you, would they?
Yeah, and unit sales too, actually.
It'll vary with the margin on each of the dishes you make.
Yeah.
So do you know how much profit you're making on each range?
I do know, and it's varies as seasonal as well. Like the products very seasonal.
And you sell off later in the day.
Yeah.
So
it's Sunday or not, stuff like that. So selling price as well. So it varies from location to location too. Yeah, even it's the same product.
So you have the same prices whether you're in Lancaster or if you're in the middle of Manchester.
So we've got much higher price when I am in Manchester. So I can charge more, like, or in festival I can charge double, like no more. But then like no, I can't waste that selling price in Manchester. No. So yeah, no chance.
So that's the one, as you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
Cash is the king. Yes. Any questions? Or would you like me to give you the cash flow forecast exercise? That's
square. Square.
Yeah.
So it's 1.75% that you see. And they just introduced last month.
Yeah, that's a spreadsheet,
You
right?
can,
Those are the
on the day,
questions.
within 20 minutes, get the money in the account.
Do you want to pass those down and then we'll...
So you don't have to wait even until the next
Do it
day.
again, like so on
You
the
charge.
day that it's
And you charge, and then on the day you can press kind of get the money now, and then within 20 minutes it's in your account. essentially.
really?
That,
Oh my god.
they've just introduced that like last month.
Is it like a pay per transaction or is it a month?
Yeah, it's
monthly
still the square payment.
Yeah.
So I think it's 1.7% they charge, or card doesn't, and 2.5 if you do it without the card, just with the number for online things. If you're not doing that anymore.
No. Oh wow. Thank you.
I've actually got pretty much the same thing here, so I've just been
Yeah, just little one. I use as a template.
yeah. This is obviously for software as a service, so it's a bit
Sorry?
it's for a software as a service.
Oh
it's
yeah.
a bit of a different model.
Yeah, there's loads of these. So I'm only a simple man, so simple spreadsheet. Yeah, of course you can. Have we got any more questions? Thought I'd done enough.
For what period do you usually, when people come to the, what was it, Northwest Business Angel?
Yeah.
What period start up cash projections usually, financial forecasts?
You wanted detail for the first year,
Yeah.
the monthly one,
Yeah.
then a quarterly one for your next year,
Right.
and then do a 6 monthly one.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's all a bit.
It's in having, yeah.
Yeah, a lot can happen in 12 months.
Yeah.
So,
There's also a lot of changes with team growing, customers growing, so many variables
Yeah.
with this thing. I don't know if you want to have a look at if there's any feedback. Don't mind the numbers, they're still changing, but
Yeah.
essentially we're working off like a bootstrapped MVP phase with friends and family, compounding plans,
Yeah.
keep us afloat, looking to raise first round, and team grows, expenses grow.
Yeah.
First customers coming in, that's how it's structured. It's a subscription transaction, use investment coming in expenses.
Yeah.
And then even hiring team, rolling out customers. Hopefully the numbers start getting
and then you
green, and then
things will be seasonal for you anyway, won't
But
they?
any notes on that, any thoughts on that?
That's fine.
If it's based on a growth forecast of customers here,
Yeah.
assumptions we make in terms of
That's good. You've got the assumptions in there,
Yeah.
so
yeah. So assumptions in terms of salary, etc.
Get stuck down there, don't you? David, will you email me one of the sheets with your questions on when you get a chance?
Yes.
It's just that, so I can send it out on email to.
Yeah.
our
Yeah, drop me a
virtual-
reminder,
I'll remind you.
please. Can I just see what the question sheet or the information sheet? That's what we've got.
Cool. So I'll just take a photo of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, send you that.
Sandwiches.
We'll soon whip through it. I've completed one anyway. We'll just go through it. course.
Is your business currently a research project, or is it a company that you already started at the beginning?
Trying to do is, I did a research project.
Alright, So are you working alone right now? Or do you
Well, this it doesn't really matter because it's not going to be on the sheet. So if you read back,
Your background is in IT.
you can give 30 days. So they're not going to pay you in June, they're going to pay you in July. Brings us beyond the end of the month.
We are raising money to hire a development team.
It's actual cash flow.
We are essentially product managers.
What's the date of the business?
I'm doing the user interface design, so I'm designing
Yeah, just as we were saying before, the sales, you aren't going to get paid on the day. You're going to get paid next month. So that's the month you put it in. It's going to be the actual cash.
So what do they call that then? There's a method for doing that when they're in accounting, where you don't put it in where you receive it, you put it in where you put it in where you, not where you bill it, where you receive it.
You'd put it in your profit and loss account the month it was raised. But cash flow is when the cash actually comes in.
Right. So where would you put that in your accounts then? Depends what type of accounts you're doing.
Well, you'd look at the end of the end of the period or the end of the year, and you would owe some of your suppliers, creditors, and also some of your customers would owe you money at the end of the year, so they'd be down in debtors. Now those go on your balance sheet, so your debtors are an asset and your creditors are a liability.
Well, some of them might be.
Then you start messing about with bad debts and all that. Not complicated.
No.
Better retail value. I always try to sell them after a year and get a million.
Yes, I just looked at those. This is the actual cash flow. It's not your. You're going to get paid in July.
Oh, okay, so it's all the.
Well, no, it depends. You give them 30 days to pay them.
Oh, okay.
So you raise the invoice now, but you're not going to get paid in next month. Or you give them 60 days to pay this month after.
I see.
So what we're looking at is the actual cash flow here. Because your bottom line is 38. Balance at end of month, that's your bank statement.
Okay, I see.
That's what it's going to be. Anybody completed it yet?
For the materials, it's on the same on this one, right? For the raw materials, the raw purchase, I'm paying on the same day or I'm paying later?
Well, no, again, it's on 30 days.
Okay.
So you're going to pay on the
next month.
The next month.
Okay.
And that bottom line, the last line, is your bank statement, or what it should be.
Jurassic must be coming back still, or is he not?
No, he's probably gone, I think, now. Yeah.
It's on the 6th that you said the team will be looking over the applications, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll just email you back by the 9th. So, which is
Oh,
the
it's on
Monday.
what date is the application deadline?
It's the 13th.
Yes,
Ish.
you could have a
It's the
mixture,
13th.
because
Yeah,
you're
it's in.
We have actually done everything
Well,
already
if you
because
were
Scott's
selling
away and
business,
then I'm away,
you'd
so by
raise
the
the
time that we
numbers.
have both back here, it's going to be just
If you're
a few
selling
days left.
to somebody off your store,
Yes,
big,
hopefully.
giving you
Good for
cash.
you.
That's fine.
Yeah.
There's
So
no
if you have some
financial
cash
plan
sales,
as such as
they
it's
go
just a
there.
business model canvas for the first
Yeah,
round, isn't it?
and the
And
it's
the
just
video.
the revenue in the
Yeah, I didn't know what your business
at the
is
bottom of
were,
the business model canvas.
but I'd assume
The
you
Santander
were
one.
business to business. But if you've got a mixture, yeah, you've got to
So
have
we've
cash
got
in there.
the value proposition,
Yeah,
right?
and at the bottom of that there is revenue and costings.
Well, you've got to
That's
raise
about
the
this one,
invoice
yeah.
now. But you're not
Or
going
is
to
it
get cash.
is it actually the
If
one
you go
from
on
the,
to the
it's the business model. So we're submitting both the business and the value
it's,
prop, right?
it's a specific
I know.
template from Santander. If you
Yeah.
go onto the enterprise
We're-
team
we're going to
website,
get sales of 750 in July, but you're not going to get the money till August.
and click on the Santander.
If you have cash on top, you put the month it's actually coming in. No, it's just
Oh, so that's
So at the bottom you've got your construction revenue streams.
oh, so you want us to fill it in
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
template,
Yeah,
right?
sorry, it has to be submitted to them.
Ah, okay. So we that's
Just
a bit,
transfer it over.
there's a bit less
well,
in there.
you,
isn't
you're
it?
going to pay
It's just 4 fields,
30 days after you bought.
right? So there's a bit more specific.
So you put it in the month that you're actually going to pay the
Value
cash out.
from
No, because it's not the
customers.
material. No, it's not the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of
It's
like
cash.
it'll
Yeah, it's
include
cash.
different
Cash.
parts of your.
You should be good at cash.
Yeah, I know.
And you know, the advice from Damien really was around the costings
Yeah.
and the revenue was just like he's not looking for great bits of detail.
Right.
Just that you have a formula, that you have,
Okay.
you know,
So
assumptions.
the types of things that we have in here right now. So for cost, it's the initial development, it's market, it's maintenance and data center costs, marketing and sales, general admin and ops,
Yeah.
operations. So it's developing and maintenance essentially,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Do you remember from Damien's talk if this is the kind of thing they're looking
Yeah.
for?
Yeah. So maybe.
Yeah, that's before you start.
Yeah,
So
I
you've got
think
to
that'll
have some of
include all your
these
costs. So once it's up and
before you
running
launch your business.
as well, what are your costs going to be?
Yeah, so general administration and operational costs
Okay.
as well as
So maybe
marketing
have a
and
little bit
sales.
more detail as to what that might be. Yeah.
I'm just looking at the size of the fields.
Yeah.
How many words are they expect? Is that just words or is that bullet
Yeah.
points they want here?
Just whatever. Bullet points, words, just
Right.
whatever you can fit in there.
And
It should expand, I think.
You can
Right.
change
The box should get bigger as you type into it. Just try
Yeah.
that.
yeah, it will, but
Yeah.
the question is what do they want?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so there's
just
a lot of
basic.
space.
Yeah. Yeah.
You-
So
you need to
a
find
general
out who
overview
they're
of what your
reaching.
costs will be, what the structure is for that. So like you
I
say,
want to
general
go out to
operations. So
Mhm.
what might that be? Yeah, will it be staff costs? Will
Oh
it
yeah,
be?
so we
Yeah, so just a bit more detail around that.
okay for each of them.
Yeah, yeah.
When
And for your
we submit
revenue-
that, how does that? How do I take that sheet and save it?
Can you save? Can you click save as?
Well, then it will be just one sheet,
Yeah.
right? And I won't have an
Another
expendable
one's
form.
inside a magazine. That's another business one.
Inside is in
What's your assignment about that?
It covers the whole country, but they do it regionally.
Try opening it from there.
I get
Because some of the
inside,
PDFs
I
you
get
can-
one, which is free.
You know, they are expandable even when they've been saved.
Mm-hmm.
I get something
So is
big,
that,
twice
is
a
that
day.
PDF? Yeah.
Just the key headlines of what's happening.
Right. Okay.
Companies taking
And then I'll
over,
save that.
somebody's
Okay,
Yeah.
so-
closed down.
So your revenues, it's a
Half
general
is lines.
idea of where your money's going to come in from.
No, no.
Yeah, so we might have,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, we'll
saying
just-
startup funding, angel
It's free to use
investment,
online.
and then
Free
looking
to
at,
get online.
you
You can buy
know,
a hard copy.
obviously what it is that you're selling, who might be,
harder for magazines to sell hard copy, unless they've got
sort of like just
subscribers.
maybe a general formula around that, so you would have to sell so much to generate that much
So
income.
the Guardian of the Week, he gets
I've got the information
you've got Readly.
on an email somewhere, so I'll forward it you when I'm back in the office on Thursday, next Thursday. And you can just check against that.
And all
It's
magazines
just
have that.
the information that Damien gave us.
Okay.
And he said as well, other advice that he gave was, because he spoke to some of the winners from last year, he phoned them up,
All right.
and their advice was, look at what the aims and objectives of Santander as a bank are. They're very customer focused. Yeah, so that's kind of like a key. And sort of like have a look around their website and just kind of take a general taste of what they're about. And that should give you some sort of ideas about your pitch and, you know, how you're going to address that.
But the first round's not being judged by Santander, it's being judged by
It's
the
judged by the uni, yeah. There's a panel of judges.
Yeah.
I am not one, so you can't buy me chocolates. Well, you can buy me chocolates, but I'm not one of the judges. So they're independent judges, they're not sort of part of the enterprise team. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So good luck. Yeah, send that over, and then myself and Gerasimos and Chris are going to meet on the Monday.
Right.
And just go through,
Just
and
to-
then email.
for some
Sort of
feedback.
like it'll probably be a bit later on because we've got a team meeting that morning.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. No. Let's mute. Hello, Yvonne. Can you hear me?
She's having dinner.
Right, it's okay now.
All right.
Cool. Is it okay? Is it okay? That's me.
So if you've got credit sales in July, it comes up in.
I've got one. Thank you, David. I'm just.
That's a completed one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you've got sales in July, it comes in the next.
The money comes in August.
Upside down.
You vote.
Yeah.
We're
so-
assuming it is.
Okay.
So if you had somebody that hadn't paid at the end of the month, you'd move it to the next month.
Okay. Carry forward. Carry forward.
Yeah, if somebody's not paid you. Or if somebody's gone bust and you're not going to get the money. Take it up. What it's showing you, this bottom line, is your bank balance. Do you notice anything? It's on a small print. Do you notice anything about it?
What?
Do you notice anything about your bank balance at the bottom of the sheet? Right. So, what you need to do? Do you need to put more money in at the beginning? Or do you want an overdraft facility from the bank? You go along to the bank and say, I'm going to be short of money in November. Could I have my overdraft extended to 3,000, say, for that month? And I need it because of these are what's happening. But again, at the end of the year, you've got to get your sales up, else you're going to be £16,000
The deficit.
deficit, yeah.
So if we, in between, if we had a kind of.
If you got more sales,
Yeah, wherever we hit the zero, that's the break even, right?
yes.
We haven't hit it here.
No, you skipped over it. You're £65 in October. Next month, you're 2,200 overdrawn in October, November.
True. Okay. Yeah.
So you look at, if you're making some purchases, say capital expenditure, if that wasn't till later on, could you delay it a month to stop you being overdrawn?
So what you're saying that we tell the bank that we need an overdraft in November
Because
of the
because of these, yeah.
2,200 minus going.
Because November is a what's going out in big numbers. Not a lot.
Rent and rates, wages.
Yeah, out of the
Credit
ordinary, I was
sales.
thinking, I could have put we've got an advertising one in December. So you're going to have another round of leaflets printed for 250 quid. Could you delay that a bit longer?
But I think then the sales are decreasing in December and January. That's another problem as well.
It is. Well, you think of December as a 2-week month. Nobody wants to see the last week in December. Nobody wants to place an order the week before that. They come back in New Year, first few days they're talking about what they've done at Christmas. They're not thinking about placing an order. So January might be a 3-week month. December's probably a 2. But you've still got those fixed costs.
Yeah.
So you're happy with that, are you?
So it was quarter capital was 10,000. Not
they're
much.
kind of,
Where's what, sorry?
I'm a bit baffled. Why
Yeah,
the capital was
these loans that
Yeah,
you said.
we've got a loan in
Alright.
from Bank of Mum and Dad.
Yeah.
Or friend. That's £10,000 to start your business.
I don't know.
No,
Here,
that's
here
fine.
it says 5.
That's why I'm confused.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Here it
Oh,
says
Yeah.
5.
All right.
Thank you.
Not that far off.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I pointed that out, but I forgot it in the process.
Yeah. Should put that in. So, what we're saying here is 10,000 isn't enough. You're 10,000 and plus your own 3,000. It isn't enough to get your business going. So what do you need? And you play about with the numbers, put them in.
You run out of the cash, right?
You've run out of cash.
Yeah.
That's it. But these headings flip over into a profit and loss account.
Yeah.
But change the headings to suit you.
If this say this was a real life situation,
Yeah.
you ran your business and these figures started coming up. Say we get to November, if it was your business, would your course of action, would it be an overdraft, would it be another loan, how would you go about
Well,
tackling
you try for an overdraft to start with.
Yeah.
Because over that they don't take interest, or
Oh, right. Oh.
they do.
Oh, banks take interest, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
is it less than the loan interest?
Probably more.
Oh, really?
Mm.
But it's easier to get than the loan. Is that the reason you go for it?
Depends how risky they think it is. When you've gone along with your business plan and your cash flow forecast.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Or you go out and get more sales.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah, that's a bit.
Simple.
Or you cut your costs. I didn't hear the first part of the conversation.
Decided we're going to run out of money.
Right.
That's what we've got there. That's your bank balance at the end.
Yeah.
And we're
All
negative-
right.
we're negative
Yeah.
from-
Cost cutting ain't
from
helping
there.
no more.
Yeah. So what are you going to sales haven't been great.
I still
Yeah.
still need to pay
Or
that
we
money.
need more money to start with.
You raise your
Once
prices.
I get to November, I'm still
No, no.
Or raise your price. As long as you're still getting the sales.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We come back to gross profit again. Yes. Sorry.
Can I ask if this is really the case and you have a negative future cash flow forecast, and why bank will allow you to take over?
The probation for a personal guarantee, which means if you didn't repay the loan, you would be liable personally. Now, have you got any assets? Have you got a house? Have you got a car that you own? They say, well, I'll take security on that.
Or a guarantor sometimes.
Or a guarantor.
Which is somebody who's got that extra money.
And you can't get out of being a guarantor. I rent some houses out, and one of one's a 4-bedroom detached. There's been a family in there for a bit, and she's an event organiser. I think husband works at Morrison's, but they couldn't get a good credit rating, so her father guaranteed it. And he rang the estate agent up and said, "I'm not going to guarantee it anymore." So I'm sorry, but yeah, you are. You can't pick and choose when you're going to be a guarantor. No, unfortunately, they've moved out because I don't think they could afford the rent. But he was going to have to stump up the.
Big responsibility.
Yeah. in a bigger business, suppose you were talking around then on screen for it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering. Yeah, a bigger business. So you've got machinery there that you own, or a building preferably that you own. The bank would have a charge on that. So if you're closed, when you bust or whatever, the employees got the first. If you liquidate everything as a pile of cash, the employees get their wages, holiday pay, redundancy out of it. They get first dibs. HMRC get the second. And what's left is share. The bank then have got a charge on your building. So if you've got £250,000 for your building, and there's a £250,000 loan, the bank can get paid off. And then what's left is all the other suppliers would get a percentage. So this Carillion, you've probably seen the paper.
Yeah.
The banks had obviously got a charge on any assets they have. Then the employees are going to get something. There'll be a shortage in the pension fund, but there's a national scheme that there is with a redundancy scheme. It's a company can't afford to pay redundancy if they go into liquidation. There's a pot of government money to pay the employees something. They only get the statutory minimum, but there's so they've really run out of money. But they weren't doing the work. They've subcontracted it to other people. Now those poor small builders, small medium-sized businesses that were doing work for Carillion, they're going to get twopence in the pound or sixpence in the pound. So every pound that they're owed, they get 6p in it.
So they'll be going down to Swanee as well.
They will, yeah. Well, the other one that get the nose in the trough are the liquidators, because they won't take it on unless they're going to get paid. So they get their fees out early.
Yeah.
Anyway, some food in now.
There is.
Grab something and then we can have a natter. We can bring it back and we'll talk through it.
Guys, would you mind, before any of you head off, just doing a little evaluation there, I wish, I wonder, about today's session. But there's food through there. And I will send out the materials, but it'll be next Thursday, because obviously I'm not going back at the office now.
I'm providing services to companies for which I'm sending invoices. But on the other hand, I'm also providing services to the work. And to be honest, until like a month ago, I really didn't know almost anything about invoices. That was the first time I didn't work for that company. That's when I sent an invoice. And then I realized that I haven't really been sending invoices.
But they've been paid,
essentially, they're paying me before I provide the service.
Right.
And since it's a very small sum, it's like per person is like £20, and the people are from all around the world. For me, it would really be too much for trouble to send us invoice to them to expect them to.
Yes, I'll send them out next Thursday. I'll save it onto the computer and I'll email it out. But it'll be next Thursday when I'm back in the office, if that's okay.
Definitely is absolutely
Yeah, no problem.
So I could send an invoice.
What were your invoices?
Rachel, thank you very much for the session. I'll be taking off after the break.
Yeah,
So
no
I will
problem.
see you
It's
after
good to
the
see
Easter
you.
break.
Yeah, take care.